our enemy. We've seen behind the curtain. And they have a weakness. An Achilles heel.
They are arrogant and completely underestimate what they are up against. They forget who the Game Master is. They forget how wise this old demon can be. So, let's see who among them survives this killing field.
When your timeline reaches its Armageddon, what's a kid to do?
I'm not a...
Snag the keys to your mom's experimental ship, of course.
That's not quite how it happened.
Drift aimlessly in the rift between dimensions, trying to figure out how to operate it.
Now hold on a sec.
Pick up a few hitchhikers,
Hi!
Hello.
and maybe solve a disturbing mystery that could lead to the destruction of reality itself.
You know, if there's time.
There's always time.
I'm not so sure about that.
Get in on the adventure with the Rift Riders on Indiegogo.
Welcome
What
to
a
all of the
crowd.
beautiful people out there this morning. Welcome
Good
to another
morning.
Thursday, and it's a Thursday, and this is Nerd Bacon, and we are about to have a little fun-filled time of nerd-dation. And
Oh yeah. I hope you guys are ready for the jalapeno cheese on your breakfast sandwich, because folks, we're coming in hot, and I'm looking at our
Speaking of
chat
hot-
already, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Speaking of hot, so I got this advent calendar from the Aldi, and it was a what is it? A Christmas heat. Every day is a new hot sauce.
Oh my!
25 days of hot sauce. Yeah,
I
I
dig it.
loved it. It's been amazing. Yeah, there was one day I was like, ooh, it just says It had some weird, like, odd name to it. It said extreme hot. And I was like, oh, what's that? That's probably not that hot. It was the hottest hot sauce I've ever had. It hurt. It physically hurt. It caused me physical pain.
I admire the people who can pursue that. It is not something I usually do much of. Like, now, I'm all about my cayenne pepper. That's like where I like to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's about, I want to feel it a little bit on the sides when I'm, you're doing pork or something. But,
Right,
once you get to the sweating and you're snotting and all that, nah.
I
You have
sometimes
fun.
put hot sauce on my salad.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. My dad used to carry a little bottle of Tabasco everywhere he went. He'd never go anywhere without a little bottle of Tabasco until he started having some stomach problems, and it switched out to, like different brands. But, like, as a little kid, I always remember that Dad's pocket is this bottle of
Right, yeah.
horrendously hot stuff.
Well, my favorite is Texas Pete. It's not real hot, but it's flavorful. I don't
Yeah,
like
and
hot
see,
for hot's sake.
That,
It's gotta be good.
that's
That's
exactly
good.
where I live. Because
But
I
speaking-
love
I mean,
wasabi.
Yeah.
I like
Oh, yeah.
horseradish heat.
But we're gonna be hot today. We're gonna have some hot takes on AI art. We're gonna talk about that a little bit today, and then we're gonna talk about other things that just happen to pop up as usual.
Well, that's what we're here for. Entertaining
So far it's just us. Some of our friends might stop in later. Glenn can't make it today.
Glenn showed up in the chat. He's
deadlines,
got
yeah.
a deadline, which I respect. See, that's
Deadlines and
somebody
stuff,
I
yep.
respect who's like, I got to put work first.
Yeah,
But it
I have
is
a lot of work to
tragic
do too.
that
Yeah,
Glenn isn't here.
yeah, because it's always fun, and I know he'd have a lot to say about this.
Yeah,
But yeah, I have a
so-
lot of work to do too. So who knows? We may close down a tad bit early, but that's not saying much around here.
Well, you never know.
tad
The
bit
show
early,
could
what is
turn
that?
into
Yeah.
like a 12-person panel show at a blink of an eye, too. You
Yeah,
never
we
know
could.
how.
Yeah, we could get talking about this, and some people are like, send me the link. I gotta get in there. Yeah. So I'm not wearing the pork pie today because I paid all this money for this really expensive haircut, and I'm not wasting it. I'm not wasting it. I'm showing it off.
So I got to ask, did you bring in your comic and say, I want that?
No. It's not. That's not what I do at all. And it's not really the trash man. The trash man is more just like
Shaggy.
kind of like shaved underneath, and then it flops over top of the shaved. He cuts it himself because there's not a seat big enough for him. So he tends to do it himself.
I found it.
So
Well, before we get into this,
what's in the
let's
chat this
let's
morning?
greet a couple of the people who are in the. Hi, Joe. It's Joe Bachman of Joe Bachman Technologies. He does app development. He's one of my best friends. He's just amazing people. Morning, Bacon Nation. Morning to you. I hope you're staying warm and safe. He works in construction, and the majority of his outdoors nastiness is winding down. So that is beautiful, because I'll feel better when he's off of the road. And thank you for skipping that. We'll get to that one later.
Anybody that okay. So here's the deal. We are simulcasting to a lot of different places today. And on Facebook, we can't always see who you are, okay? It shows up as Facebook user in a lot of cases. Shane, we can see his face and his name, so we'll show the comment. If I can't see the name and it's a spicy comment, I'm not going to show it.
Okay.
Just because it's my show and I can do
Because
what I
I'll be
want.
honest, I was ready to pull one of my favorite lines about that one. Would you show that one? Just because we'll go into it.
Sure.
Let's have fun. Facebook user. First off, if you want us to respect your opinion, you do have to identify yourself somewhat.
Yeah. Which
I
is
mean,
not
I
necessarily
don't
their
care
fault.
if
It's not necessarily their fault. Sometimes it's
Right.
just because of where we're streaming to. You have to give StreamYard permission to show your identity. Okay.
Right.
So you have to make sure you do that if you want to be seen. Okay.
Yeah, and the
Or
reason
head on over to Luke Stone Studios on YouTube and pop into this chat because that's really where we want you to be in the end.
'cause I do want to hear
Facebook
your-
as an opportunity to grow the audience.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to hear your opinion, and this is a spicy take. So I'm a pro AI user, and I will. And he said, and will hope my work continues long after I pass away. First off, don't know who you are, so I'm going to take it on faith that you're being sincere. The definition of work. To use an AI, you simply type in a series of prompts and refine them. That is the difference between being a librarian and being, well, I do my research. I type a few words into Google. We have lost. Yeah. We have, as a country, and this is actually symptomatic. We've lost the concept of expertise because everyone has a platform, and everyone has the right to an opinion. All opinions are valid, but they are not all weighted the same. Because if my car breaks down, I want the opinion of a mechanic, not somebody who's never worked on a car. That just makes sense, right?
Right, yeah.
So they're not the same. I don't quite see how you're.
I mean, you can. Well, okay. So here's the deal. I think so. He says he's pro AI, so he's pro AI art. But here's the problem: your work won't outlive you with AI, because what it does, it takes prompts that are fed in to the algorithm, and then that's what trains the AI, and then it takes what it sees there and mashes it up to follow whatever prompt based on what it finds from the images that's been tagged with it, right? So your art is not outliving you, because chances are, because the majority of that art that is being put in there has been done so illegally.
Yeah.
Like the artist did not give permission for their work to be, or their estate didn't give permission for their work to be used in the AI generation. Like I know that some of my stuff has been fed into an AI, and I did not give permission for that.
And see, that's the great. It's an issue of consent. I'm a big believer that somebody's rights extend infinitely as far as they want, as long as they don't impinge on somebody else's. This is impinging on other people's rights. It's real easy. The music you're hearing right now, really nice, chill music. We all like it, right? Yeah. Why isn't it Miles Davis? Why aren't we playing So What? Then What? We're not playing Miles Davis jazz because we don't have the rights to it.
Miles Davis
and we
jazz.
Would be sued and shut down very quickly if we just started using whatever
we have to
like.
We have to pay for it. That's okay. So every week, on whenever I do my draw streams, I use copyright-free music. Okay, now I have to submit the license for that music, or I don't get monetized.
Right.
Someone created this work, this music, and said, "Look, your license is that it's being used on." They're not going to copyright claim it, right? Last Tuesday night, I played a song, Christmas song, and we do this every once in a while. We'll play songs, and we get copyright claimed on those things because that's someone else's work. Now, the cool thing about YouTube is they find it, they won't let you get monetized, but if you do get monetized, that money goes to the copyright claim holder if they're a monetized channel, so they will get the money for it, right?
Right.
Or if I go through something like Envato or something like that, where I can download music and use it in my videos, they give me a license because I've already paid for my license over there.
Right.
So, and that's the same as like using an image or something from there. If I'm using that for one of my graphic design pieces, I've paid for the work. Like I paid for it. So I paid for the license for Luke Stone Studios LLC to have it, to use for clients and other people. And if the client gets in trouble with it, all they got to do is say, come to me, I will present the license, right? Which they're not going to get in trouble with it because I bought that piece. That's
right.
It's now my piece. I've paid for the piece for them.
Yes.
So if I'm using a piece of a photo as some kind of stock in there, then to fill out some background image or whatever, then
well, it's the right person
that took the photograph got paid for it.
Right. It's just
know.
like all the people who go on Twitter and they'll do characters. It's like, you want to buy this character and use it for your stuff, you can adopt it from me. It'll be this cost, and then it's your character to do with what you please.
Yeah, I do that with
That-
character design for a lot of people. Yeah.
It's a good, I've done that. It's a good business model. It's fair to everybody. The artist gets paid. The buyer gets what they want. That's fair.
Well,
This
I
is
think
literally, now look at it this way: if somebody went into your phone, stole a bunch of your family photos, mashed them together, and said, "Look at these photos,"
Look
you'd
what I
be
made.
cheesed.
Yeah. It's like, wait a second.
Oh.
That wasn't your photo. I took that photo.
Right.
That's my photo.
If now, if you want to feed AI and you consent to it because you're
Right,
trying to make a better AI art program, and that is your goal, whether I disagree with it or not, I would respect your right to do that with your materials consenting to do so.
Yeah. Or if you're paying artists and photographers for their
Right.
content.
And,
Okay, so
and you
here's
inform
where it
them.
really comes down to me, and I'm a lot more passionate about this now that the stones don't eat unless Luke's drawing, like literally.
Yeah.
That's how we survive, is
Right.
based on. That's why you always see me with this glove on, because I'm drawing right now. I'm drawing a comic book page
Yeah.
for someone. It's not even I'm like, this is not my book. This is somebody else's book. I'm drawing somebody else's book, because I've got to eat, right? My kids got to eat. They got to. Gavin, Gavin he's a grown boy. He needs new shoes,
Yeah. Trust me.
All of that stuff adds up, and these people are out there working, creating content for you, and then you're going to take that content and steal it, and then mash it together, copy it basically, and claim it as yours. That bothers me. That really bothers me.
Well, the
Let's
claiming
get back to
of-
the let's push pause on this for a minute. Let's get back into welcoming our chat, and we've got a Moral Rising here. Hale, good to have you here this morning. Hojo's in the house. Bacon ears assemble. We got Shane Chepsey. I will never publish stolen art. Amen. There you go, buddy.
right there.
It's a shame that we should even have to
Right
say
there.
that, right? I'm a nerd, and I love bacon. But you're in the right place, my friend. Glenn Fleming, sorry I couldn't make S deadlines today. You will be missed, my friend. Phantasmagorical is in the house.
Hey, Panda.
Hey,
Panda's
Hey, Hojo slept in today. Storm has just good enough
Oh.
to let me come to work. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hojo, because I would love to hear your take on it. And this may be one we have to revisit when we can get a pre-arranged panel.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that have maybe they don't have artistic ability and they get tired of dealing with artists, because artists, finding a good artist can be problematic, because there are a lot of people out there that claim work is their own and they're just photo bashing, and not even in a good way.
Yeah.
Or they're going and basically stealing work off the internet too. And so it could be difficult, and then good artists are expensive because
Wait.
well-
You think artists deserve to be paid? It's not for free, but you enjoy doing it.
okay, so there's this TikTok trend going around, this little song clip said it costs this much because it takes for effing ever. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it takes a long time. It took a long time to get good at it to start with.
Oh, yeah.
All right, then we've got Johnny Cage, Johnny freaking Cage in the house. Ho
I
ho
love
ho!
Johnny Cage.
No, I don't have the energy nor the desire to be civilized on this topic. I'll be back next week. You do not have to be civilized on this topic.
This is one you don't.
I don't plan on it.
Yeah. One thing to remember with AI: the AI is only as good as the coder that created the AI. Unless it's Skynet, then we're all screwed. Yeah, and that's one thing people get confused, because I'll say I support the development of artificial intelligence as a technology, but the way it's being used right now to AI art isn't art done by the person claiming it. It's done
No, it's not.
the best, it's done by, if you want to say it's a creative endeavor, it is done by the algorithm inside the AI itself. So you're still just at best, you're a patron. At best, you're commissioning art, or you're giving an artist a prompt. I do shows sometimes. I do things where I'll sit around. Okay, give me a word. You just give me the word. I'll draw something based on that. I've been doing that for a long time. A lot of people do. There's some shows. One of my favorites, it's called Drawthy, has that. The computer program, if you're going to say that counts as art, it's the program's art. It's not yours.
Right, yeah.
You're just a prompter. I mean,
people are now selling AI art at conventions.
And I think that is disingenuous. I think it is bad form. And I think it is basically wrong. I mean, I just
Not
think
basically, it's 1,000% wrong.
I mean, see,
it's as bad as people taking photos from the internet and running a couple of Photoshop filters over it and then printing them on prints and saying that's their artwork. It's not the same thing. It's not your artwork.
See, I got to talk about this from my perspective because I'm kind of extreme. For as mellow as I am on most things, when I'm extreme on something, I'm incredibly extreme on it. I very rarely even draw fan art. I very, very extremely rarely, because it's not my.
I recently broke bad on that.
Yeah, I know, and we had a long talk about it to make sure everything was cool.
It was a struggle. It was a struggle for me to make that leap.
And it's like, if I do fan art, it's either gift art for the creator, or it is gift art for the creator, and I have gone. It's like I drew chlorine. It's one of my better pictures. I love the picture I did of chlorine quite a while ago.
Yep.
But I went and asked Luke first, do you mind if I do fan art? And he laughed. I mean, this was one of those where Luke nearly had bodily control. He thought this was hilarious. Why are you asking me? Because I'm like, this is your IP. This is your baby. I'm not drawing your IP without,
Yeah, I don't care who draws it. Now, if you were saying, can I sell it? Then you should definitely come ask me.
And that's
by the way, you have permission to sell that. I don't need anything from it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, that's just see how easy that was, guys? Yeah. Yes. Hey, can I sell that fan art that I made? So I have one piece of fan art that I did for Gymshock, and I use that print as an add-on to sell my books. I was like, well, I'll throw that print in if you buy my book, So it's like I don't really sell that one. A lot of people, if people know who the character is, I'm shocked to begin with. I'm like, okay, great. That's like now we're in a circle that I'm familiar with. But
and the other thing is doing something with fan art for an independent creator, especially if you clear it with them, is advertising their work.
Yeah.
That's a good way to help out. I like let's see. So I love Dave Brink style. Genuine Comics. I adore it. So one of these days I may do some fan art, reach out for Dave, make sure it's cool first, and then do some fan art from his book.
Right.
There are a lot of books out there that I would do something like that with. Now AI royalties, at least,
yes.
At least, man, this
Here's
sounds
the deal.
terrible.
Here's the deal. If I was, I would be all for AI royalties. Like, yeah, I'm like, go for it. If artists were getting paid royalties, because then they still get to eat. That's making money for them. It's like selling digital comics on your website. You go on my website right now, you buy digital comics. I don't have to ship those, and I've already made them. So you get the product right away, and I get money right away. It's a great relationship. It continues, it's evergreen. It always makes money for you. So if I was getting paid royalties off of AI, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And I don't think many artists would. But that's the problem. They're not getting paid royalties.
As long as it's consensual. That's my trick.
That's what she said.
No, but it's there,
Yeah.
and I've had to really work against some analogies that would be borderline
See
bad
that.
form because that's how I feel about it. But AI is kind of shafting folks and not even leaving a buck on a bedside. You know what I mean?
Hail nerds!
Hell,
Welcome, nice to have you here. Facebook user says, hi Luke. Again, Facebook users, you got to give StreamYard permission, or head on over to the YouTube channel, and then we can chat there. Very, very good stuff. Eric Hawkins, welcome Eric Hawkins. Morning all. Artists are squirrely. And
Yes.
that is coming from an artist. Yeah, they are. Okay, so let me advocate for a moment for AI, okay? I think AI can be good for figuring out a prompt, okay? What am I looking for? What do I want? I just spent the better part of an afternoon working on a logo design for someone, right? And by the end of it, I sent them the logo based on their prompt, and they were like, this is not what I want. And I go, it's exactly what your prompt is. And they're like, oh, okay, well then I guess I don't want that. I'm like, okay, well then I guess you're going to have to pay me twice. Because then they came back with a completely different prompt. And it wasn't even reusing the same work. I mean, it was starting over, So maybe pop your prompt into an AI and see if you know how to communicate to an artist. Because if you can communicate to a computer program, then you can communicate to an artist. Because the biggest part of the breakdown between artist and client is that communication, that you don't know how to specify what it is you want. So it just doesn't work out that way for you, right? So you don't get what you want because you don't know how to communicate what you want. So there's a big issue with that. So AI can be useful for that. When it comes to artists trying to figure out design elements, I've used it for this. I don't use it much anymore. In fact, I got into a rash to where maybe once or twice it was useful, but for the most part, it wasn't. So I haven't used any AI stuff for that purpose, for getting the pumping the for months.
It's the difference between you're using the image as a reference layer on Clip Studio, where I've set this up. Here's a picture of a Hot Mermaid, and I'm going to draw my own version of Hot Mermaid. But that just gives me some
photo reference. I mean, photo reference is different. So if you're using an AI generated, a lot of artists will do that. They'll use an AI generated art as a just
a
shoving
photo
my AI
reference.
pencil. My AI, a pencil. Why invent the wheel or the pencil in this case? Because people can't draw, Glenn. They can't.
See,
that's why they're doing it.
They're
doing it because they cannot draw.
People cannot draw. I'm going to say largely by choice, because I believe anybody can learn to draw at least rudimentary. It doesn't have to be perfect, but for example, during while I was doing recovery for my hands, to practice, I did it was one notch from whiteboard style art version of the comic that Luke is drawing my submission to Out of Obscurity. Paul Bunyan, Kaiju Slayer. But and I drew, and I knew it was not published quality. That's why I didn't publish it. But I could say, this is here at this time. This is the best I could do at that time. Luke, would this work as a layout for what I was trying to do with the story? Because he was looking for a script. I'm like, would this just work? Because it's I'm like, yeah. And then he sent me a couple pages, and he tweaked it and changed it. And at that time, had line quality because my hands physically couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I understand the frustration. But one, I respect the work it goes into doing it. So there are people who can't draw. Fine. There are artists who can. I am terrible with music. Okay? it is not, music and languages are not my jam. Well, okay, they're my jam, but you know what I mean. So if I want music done, I talk to Luke. I could say, Luke, I want some music done. You can make me a piece. I could say, I like it, but could you make it bassier or, up the tempo here,
Absolutely.
do something like that. And we could work on something like that.
AI generated music is out there too. And it is
Yeah.
the same thing. It's just stolen music is what it is.
And that's my problem, because I would rather do one, deal with a person, and two, guys, creators. I deal with a lot of creators on my show because it's not as comic book focused as the shows. We got authors, we got game designers, we got a few a little broader. Hey, you lurk away, Agent Zero.
Lurk
You're fine.
away, my friend. We got a lot of lurkers today.
Everybody's trying to get the end of the year stuff done. It's to be
Yeah.
expected. But the other thing is they don't want to pay creators. Businesses don't want to pay creators. Small people don't want it. They want to make money with a creator's skill set without having to pay the creator.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what
Corporations
what a lot
are
of
using
it's about.
AI. Grifters are using AI. Now here's the thing. AI is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not. Okay. There are going to be some good practical uses for it, like introducing AI into photo editing. So let's say, for instance, I'm trying to remove a subject from the foreground, and I want to separate them from the background, and I want to fill in a big section of information that is just absolutely gone. AI can, in moments, fill in that space for me, where I then now can focus in on the real creative work. It's taking care of the mundane stuff, right? I think it's fine for static, mundane things. It's when people use it as the creative mind behind a piece. Like, I don't think AI illustrations will ever work in comic books. They'll look dead and they'll look as bad as photo bashed or when you can tell people are tracing.
Yeah, you can tell. And one thing Daphne says: if you do the work, you never have to. You never have to prove it or whatever. It's real close to that, but
yeah,
if you do,
you have to
do
prove it's
your
yours.
own
Yeah, it's
work.
yours.
Now, what I do think, one, there's backlash because Luke got me on Clip Studio Paint, and I will say that it is tied with my favorite drawing apps right now of all time, because my favorite one is Infinite Painter, but that's only for Android. I adore that app, and these two are very, they do different things, so they're floating there. They had been developing an AI system.
Well, actually,
And
they
what
weren't
happened
developing. They were actually going to insert Stable Diffusion into the actual program.
And what happened is the users, the fans, the people, the artists went, no. And they actually wrote, I should have saved the link. They did a wonderful letter explaining why they're removing it, apologizing to the fans, to the users, to the artists. I keep saying fans out of reflex, but it's not.
To the artists.
Industry. And that's the thing, industry.
So here's why they did it, Nick. Number one, because people were, I'm not going to use this software now.
Yeah.
Because number one, it cheapened the brand. Okay, let's be real honest.
Oh yeah.
No one wants to use Clip Studio if Clip Studio is synonymous with people that don't know how to do art, that are using it to generate AI art. So it would have cheapened the brand. Number one, it wasn't their own. It wasn't sourced, and that was the other problem. The art is not sourced from artists who either submit their work to be sourced from it, or from people that are being paid royalties to submit their art to it. That's not happening. So whenever you pay for Midjourney, which is why I jumped on the bandwagon immediately, got Midjourney and started playing around with it, paid for it. Then I realized, wait a second, how is this being sourced? Oh, I'm paying Midjourney for this, but the artists and the photographers aren't being paid for this. that this is sourcing from. So I immediately canceled my subscription. I'm like, no, we're not using this, because no one's getting paid that deserves to be paid. The people that are getting paid, it's just like someone that's copying art, or copying photos.
I mean,
you can't, I couldn't see it was ethically wrong for me to do that. I feel like it was ethically wrong to do that.
It's a lot like the people who just go, they download a high-res copy of DC comic book cover. Because I'm saying this because last comic show I went, it was one of those times where Harley Quinn was everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And it's literally, they're just either frames taken out of the comic or covers, clean versions of the cover that they've downloaded. And they're printing these off, and it's like, you have a license? Do you? Well, no, or just. I'm all for people making money. I really am. And I understand that bootlegs happen and bootlegs exist for certain reasons. There's a whole nother layer to that, especially when you're poor. But that's shady. And I always say it's shady because it is. It's wrong. And AI is taking that to this next horrible level, because one thing is, Luke has standards on what he draws. Okay? Luke does not draw pornography.
Nope.
Gore hits, but
somebody could gore. Not too bad, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is somebody could easily take AI and use that as a bypass to Rule 34. And the scary thing is, if it gets good enough to pass, where you can't tell
already,
which it's getting there. It's not quite there. There are a couple flaws, but when it gets there, what's to say? Well, I don't draw porn. Yes, you do.
Here it is. Yeah. So here's the deal. I can load it with Glenn's art and tell it I want something drawn like that in Glenn's style, and it will make it look just like Glenn did it.
Yeah.
And I mean it's
sad. Terrifying. Because
it is terrifying,
if art is an expression of a person, which I really believe it is. Now, some pieces are fun, some pieces are projects, but we all have those pieces where there's a lot of emotion behind it.
Yeah, like what if Jack? Yeah, like what if Jack Kirby drew Iron Man from the movies? Like, what if he, did that or whatever? You can do fun stuff like that, and I know people have made everyone Joker at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. The Chris Farley Joker was my favorite, I think. But yeah.
Just going for Duella Dent. Anyway, but
so I think I was really cool with it, like when people were doing it for fun, and I was like, hey, yeah, that's kind of neat, But when people started using it for book covers, and they started using it for illustrations in their books, they started using it as part of their workflow, and using it for production pieces that they could have or should have paid the artist for, right? They're now getting it for free, basically. That's when I drew the line, and that's when the AI,
and I do believe
the anti-AI sticker went up in my
with
profile.
it could be fixed if it's sourced through consensual sources.
Yeah.
So this is because I hated it. I got fired, and I'm like, well, no, let's be. Whenever I get really, I stop and I assess. So if it could be ethically sourced and the artists are given fair compensation, per piece, it could be like the crazy music rates where you only make a few cents a download or whatever.
But that's fine. You're still making money.
You're still making money. Then it would be a fair system.
Yeah.
But that's not that's the problem with, I think, business in America. Because I'm a capitalist. I believe.
Oh, I like capitalism.
I believe if you do a job, you should get equivalent exchange for the job. That's kind of how that goes. The problem is these systems that are in place right now in America do not thrive. It's predatory profiting. and our system can't hold with that. That's how, you know, a 1% inflation hike gives you a 20% price hike or 120% price hike, because everybody adds a little extra. Well, I'm going to add this, so I'm going to add my piece, and it becomes exponential down the supply line. That mentality it's greed. And there's nothing wrong with making money. It's nothing wrong with making good money for what you do. But it should still be fair. This isn't fair at the end of the day.
No, it's not fair.
But I think
I don't think it's going away. I don't think, nor do I think it should go away. I just think we should be a little more responsible with it. You know, just like Elon talks about, you know, when he's doing all the artificial intelligence stuff that he talks about the responsibility that they have for it. And so Glenn says King Features has the fairest model. The creator creates and they sell and distribute. Deal. Perfect deal. I love that deal. That is a great way to do it. And I think, you know, that but unfortunately I think syndicated artwork, syndicated comic strips and for newspapers, it's almost, I think it's going the way of the dodo, really. I can't see that lasting too many more years. Now, I think when you see things like webtoons, that is a very similar model, but it's for people that specifically want that stuff, and then it's more of an independent way of doing it, and I think that is going to be potentially where a lot of people end up. A lot of people are already going there. I've thought about reformatting some of the Hybrids books for webtoons and putting them up there for people to read on that platform.
Well, I think that also makes sense, because there is a problem right now in independent comics, and the problem is, from somebody looking at it economically, the surge of the Kickstarter crowdsource, and I love crowdfunding. You know, I love that exists. But what's happening is, originally crowdfunding was, okay, I get crowdfunded so I can do this, you'll get these perks, and then I can make my profit in a more traditional manner. And what's happening is people aren't jumping off. They're not finding stability. They're constantly chasing the next crowdfund, which doesn't give you steady income, and it's not as reliable. So a lot of people are putting all their eggs in the crowdfund basket.
Yeah.
And what they should be doing is crowdfund, get your name out there, get money for what you do to develop both, you make the money, it goes into increasing, if I'm crowdfunding a comic book, I make a bunch of money, whatever that pays off the comic book goes to make better tablet, paying for any art subscription, something like that. It goes back into the business. But there isn't that stability. So what we need to do is go back to the stability of how can I get a paycheck every month for the art I've already created? How is the stuff that I've done going to keep making me money? And I think that's one we're all chasing. I think Indiegogo has done that for you with the in-demand feature. Yes. eBay stores can do that. Global Comics is now a great opportunity for people to sell their digital comics. But just creating a store, Ray Haylock that we're working with helps people build their own stores. And it's simple, and it can be tailor-made to what you want, but it's something to where you then can generate income forever on the stuff that you've already made, which is smart. But now, since you bring up crowdfunding, let me talk about crowdfunding for a second. Please do.
Concerning AI. Okay. Right. So I just got a message last night from the from our developer. Okay. His name's Dave. He's a great guy. right? So they've been working really hard doing QA tests and doing the deployment of pipelines and load testing. I don't know what that means, but it sounds hard, right? That sounds hard.
Right.
But they're also right now we're waiting on paperwork back from lawyers for the API terms of service, right? So we have to get.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on before we can deploy. We have to do that, but we're having a problem with our not safe for work function, right? Because the not safe for work creates this whole issue with the banks. Because not safe for work means pornography, right? So we can do not safe for work and show nudity, but when you do incorporate the not safe for work function, that also includes full-on porn, right? So we can't. So we're thinking we have to change our terminology for that, because right now we can't allow pornography because of banks and all that kind of issues that we'll have with that and governments and all that mess. But we can allow nudity, language, and violence to be presented. So it looks like we're going to have to change it from not safe for work to 18 plus, because 18 plus can even include harsh language. Okay, so so we're working on that, but we have to have the paperwork figured out for that, right?
Right.
And now, as far as timeline, once we can get that worked out, probably beta release next week is what we're talking. Okay, so we can beta release the site next week. But now there's this whole other level of we're gonna have to keep an eye out for AI. Like, is AI going to be used on crowdfunding? Are people going to crowdfund their comic books based on AI art?
Yes.
And
It's going to happen. I don't agree with it, but again, it's going to happen. I do have a question, because I'm kind of, I want to know your mentality, because people have asked me about this. And when I hear about things, it's like, I'll ask Luke. Because you're... how can my work be
Ask
safe?
your question. We'll get to Johnny.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
The Luke Stone brand,
Yes.
to preserve who you are as a brand, you've had to distance yourself from those who produce pornography.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, that I see it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
How do you rectify being willing to profit even marginally and from other people doing pornography? Like, how is there any difference where it applies to your brand?
This was a big conversation that Todd and I had. Todd Altmans is the other owner of fundmycomic.com. Fundmycomics.com. Yeah, fundmycomic.com. So he and I are both devout men of faith, and we have very strong values about our brands, right? But we also knew that what we were creating is not motion detected at the front door. Is not necessarily our brand, but its own brand. Okay, our brand lends credibility to it, but it's its own brand, and it's not. It's more of a public service as well as a business. But its intent is to help multiple people. Okay, it's how do I describe this? It's like I'm a photographer, right? I'm also a minister, and I am okay with people having the right to marry who they want to, but as a minister, I don't marry same-sex couples because that's not what my license allows me to do. But as a photographer, if someone wanted me to photograph a same-sex marriage, I would do that because that's a business. Does that make sense?
No,
I still, as my politics and my faith are separate in that sense, that it's like I believe that civil unions or marriage as defined by state is different than what marriage is defined by God. And so I can separate those two things. And so that's what we've had to come to. So we have to figure out, we wanted to ask, how can we honor God with what we're doing with this, and still allow those things. So the first thing that we decided was, well, we can't gatekeep based on our moral compass, because not everyone shares that. But we have to say, well, what do we want the site to do for us? Number one, we want the site to allow complete freedom of expression for us. And we want the site to create a trust relationship with us and the people that back us. And we want to have fierce independence. So if that's what we want, then we have to allow that for everybody, whether they have the same moral compass as us or not, whether they share the same values. So that means what we have to do is we have to then implement some responsibility, that people that don't want to see those things don't have to, right? So we can allow it, but we put it behind the beaded curtain, so to speak, if that makes sense. So that kids and people not willing to see 18 plus don't have to, or what we were calling not safe for work, don't have to, which now is, for the time being, is going to be labeled 18 plus until we can get everything in place that we need to then actually do the not safe for work terminology. So that's it. Like, that really is it, because there is a little bit of a separation of the Luke Stone brand with this. So like, there's certain people that I won't work with, that if they say, hey Luke, will you work with me? I say no. Some people that I could name names right now, I think our guests that are watching would love for me to name names, because hot tea is always best is spilled first thing in the morning.
Absolutely.
But I won't work with those individuals, right? But now if they wanted to use the platform, I wouldn't keep them from doing it, because I'm not working with them or for them. I've created an environment for them to do their own work.
And let me ask this, because people will ask me these things, and I'll be like, ask Luke. I'm like, no, Luke won't tell me. I'm like, well, then I'll ask Luke.
Well, most of the times I tell people it's none of your damn business. Since I woke up from my nap, that has been my default.
Right. And it's the
you somehow have a free reign to ask any question. I'll answer it. I don't know why that is. It's because I love you. That's why.
One, and when I ask you a question, it isn't, I'm really trying to gotcha,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I ask these things so that people, there's a moth in here, people, instead of muttering around the back, I don't do that. I see that as a zit, and I pop it. Let's get it out in the open. Let's talk about it so it goes away. And it's gross. That kind of festering to me is gross. Let's talk about it. Take it to the source. Fun. When you set up, will you be promoting the titles that come up on Fund My Comic, or is all promotion the responsibility of the individual?
The site will promote. So there's two things that'll happen. Okay. We will have staff picks, where the staff will pick different projects that they think should be spotlighted. We will have a featured section that can be promoted by the backers. So kind of like how Twitch works, where you can boost a stream to the algorithms to be featured. You can do that with a campaign. And yes, that works a little bit like a tip the website, but it benefits the campaign. And we do profit from that. Okay.
Right.
So I'll get to the profiting off of people's work in a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So we do. So that's how that works. So that will happen. And then there's going to be kind of like a buy one, back one feature where, in most cases, when you see a similar campaign, it will be, well, people that bought this also bought this. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be like that. It's like this campaign and this campaign are similar. Like they have the same tags, they're both superhero comics. They're both comics about frogs. They're both comics
Right.
that are safe for kids. They're both, you know, and
It's
so
suggestive selling. I mean,
so they'll be promoted that way, okay? And so I'll promote the site. That's what I'll do. I'll promote the site. The site will promote the campaigns, but ultimately, just like every other crowdfunding, it is going to be up to the creators to promote their own work. It can't be up to just the site and us. In fact, you know, to start with, the audience that the site is going to have is probably going to be dependent on the audience of the people that bring their audience to it. Now we're going to invest. So now, profiting off of people, all the money that gets profited is going to go right back into the site to start with. Like, that's where it's all going. We're only taking 2%, you know, from the creators, as opposed to 5% from the competitors. But we're only going to be taking the 2%. And so that money is going to go back into developing the site further, and to do ad campaigns and promote the site and get the site out as far and wide as we possibly can. So yes, we're profiting, but those profits are going to be used to help build the site. And then at some point, we are going to take money. We're going to take money and it's going to go in Luke's pocket. It better go in Luke's pocket, because Luke and Todd just spent a bunch of money to get the site built. So we have to make money. We have to make that money back. And so when we do, part of what the profits are going to go to is the users can suggest charities that we will donate to. And the site, as a company, as a business, will do charitable contributions through the money that it profits, as well as paying a reasonable salary to the people that work for the company. So that's how it'll wind up working. So we're not trying to get rich off of this. We're trying to maintain something that's going to be really nice and really good for people, but we want to help people promote their work. And then I have to emphasize their work. We don't want them to promote stolen work. Yeah.
Right. And this is why things like terms of service exist, and they have to be very well thought out. And see, I wanted this conversation to happen, and I didn't realize how badly till just now, because there was a potential appearance, and I'm really good at seeing what the worst person could see of, well, is this hypocrisy on Luke's part? And I've heard the rumblings, and it's like, okay, well then let's take it, let's get it open. Yeah. This is the business model, and it's the whole, does he respect it? Because this is something you guys don't know.
Comics.
Luke and I have had
5G.
long, because I'm a philosopher at heart, I really am, and a bit of a legalist when it comes to what is moral to me. I have to constantly study it, because we have promoted titles on this program that I personally, going into it, wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole in some cases. Yeah. But I find the person behind the title far more interesting. So we could get there. And
that's usually where I start, which is funny because Nick and I's approach are kind of opposite in that sense. He starts, which is why we work so well with this show together, is because he'll look at the project, but I'm looking at the person, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really in love with the project, but the person is interesting and they deserve our platform. So if the person deserves our platform, then we'll do it. If the project is
for me, it's layers of vetting.
Yeah.
And because Luke, I love Luke, but part of the reason I believe that Luke has had some of the difficulties he's had with grifters is, despite being as prickly as he is, he's very open and very see the best in a lot of people.
I was told I was an empath, which I don't know what that is, or whether I believe that or not.
An empath is someone who can absorb and feel the emotions of others.
Yeah. Well, I was told I was an empath, and that empaths are food for narcissists. Narcissists love to get a hold of empaths.
This is one of those. Welcome to Empaths Anonymous. Hi, my name is Nick. I'm an empath, and it's been 2 weeks since the last narcissist tried to suck the life out of me. Hi, Mark. But I get it. But the thing is, where that comes, I've had so many bustle through my life that I watch everybody. My first question is, are you a threat? So I'm very protective of my personal brand and my rules, and very protective of Luke's, because occasionally Luke has so much faith he will tap dance through a minefield. Meanwhile, I'll be like, okay, come on, Tep, not thy God.
It is so fun to watch you do that, though.
Oh, I know. It's like I just.
It's like that spy doing the wiggle worm thing through the lasers. It's like I'm I'm doing my little dance to the lasers, and Nick is cringing the whole time, and I'm just loving it.
It's physically
it's
painful sometimes, Luke.
It's
Y'all
hilarious.
don't know. That's empathy. I'm like, I'm just sitting here like, good God.
Yeah. But anyway, so I understand, the that question, because I do have. It was definitely a large point of conversation that Todd and I had before we decided to make this investment. There was a lot of prayer that went into it. We had several people praying for us about this. I mean, I had a year severance from the church when it closed, and it was not quite enough to really last a year anyway, with the inflated prices that we're dealing with. I took a really good sized chunk of that to help it to make this investment, and it was something that my family prayed about, and I mean, we put a lot of prayer into it. So it was not something that I just jumped into, to make this big step, but it was the next step in the evolution of what the site was going to be. So I originally started out, it was just something for me to use, and then maybe something for me and my friends to use. And now it's something for an entire community to use, because they're getting shadow banned and basically getting pushed off of platforms. And I don't think it's right. Whether I agree with someone's politics or not, I shouldn't.
One thing I find fascinating about this is, I'm not CG, I'm not anything, but I associate with a lot of CG guys. So, radioactive may or may not hit me. That's fine. It won't be the last time. But I hear the allegations of what people claim CG people are. Yeah. And then I see what you're doing, and you're literally trying. Look at this. You are literally straining your morals to see if the fiber will allow enough flexibility to open a place where people can crowdfund anything comic related.
Yeah.
It's literally you're fit. You're emotionally and almost possibly even spiritually damaging yourself to try to open the gate wider to let people in. And
I'm not damaging myself. I'll believe that I would not do this if I felt I was damaging myself. We had to find
but you get what I'm saying. You're having to check. But
yeah, we had to check. Yeah, we did a real serious gut check on whether morally and spiritually we'd be okay doing what we're doing.
I do, from the outside, I would say having an 18 plus option, because nudity in itself isn't, this might shock people for me to say this, but nudity in itself isn't a sin.
True.
Nudity in itself isn't immoral, and I think we need to, especially as Americans, to an extent, realize their bodies. You know what I mean? That in itself is
some better looking than others.
Absolutely, no one wants to see me without my shirt on. I understand this because I am, the mighty manatee man.
This ain't pretty.
I mean, you're a virtual Adonis. We understand
right,
this. We'll let it go. But I'm one notch from a blobfish, and that's okay.
Apex says I'm a nice CG man.
Yeah, and
I know a lot that are. Yeah.
Yeah, but my point being, that is the most literally painfully inclusive thing that I've heard in a long time what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is I could ask you, I'll ask you a question that I know the answer to. If someone wants to if someone is a Muslim and they want to create a title, maybe a superhero title, maybe not, around the experiences of a Muslim character, would you have any problem with them crowdfunding through you?
No, not one problem at all.
Exactly.
Why would I?
And
Why would I? Because here's the thing. I don't want anyone having a problem with me making content about what I want to. I want to be able to practice my faith and my beliefs and my religion and my politics any way that I want to in art. And so that's part of the freedom of expression. And so that's why when we put those pillars in place, Nick, that's what it all came down to. The moral, the spiritual, all of those things come down to those three pillars. Number one, what I want it for myself. If I was on the other side of this argument, what would I want to be allowed? I would want complete freedom of expression. I would want complete independence. And I would want trust. And so we want to build that. And so the way we honor God through this is we honor people. You know, we allow people the freedom to make the choices that they want to. And people know what Todd and I believe, how we feel. But I feel it's very important that people have an opportunity because, I mean, right now it's Mike Barron that's getting the heat, right? But, you know, we've had him on the show. He's a great guy. Amazing writer. His book, Private American, doesn't seem racist at all to me when you actually investigate the book. It's might be politically problematic for some people. It's not racist. It's
I don't see it much different than the older Punisher titles.
No, not at all, right?
For good or bad, it's not much different than a wonderful example. I was not overly fond of Demon Beat as a title.
Yeah,
but
it's not my best, no. But
Christy Shin, I'm sorry, my speech impediment is really
Christy
getting
Shin.
me right now.
Yeah.
Is a really neat lady.
I like her a lot. Yeah.
So is the guy behind Roach Balls. I mean, really,
Rich
these
Ayala.
are amazing people, and I'm. This is gonna shock you. I am glad when I can find out I'm wrong, because I've learned something.
Oh, that's
and
a
I
neat
was
concept. People being okay with being wrong.
I was excessively judgmental in that my attitude was this is not a title I would want. So how do I
Welcome,
deal
Pedro.
with promoting it? And it was an interesting. Okay, great to hear from you. Drive safe, Pedro.
Yep. So,
but
I met
people.
So I don't lose my point. Let me get this because I will forget and we'll go somewhere else. The point being is someone wrote an article about Mike, about his book, and Kickstarter banned him pulled the book from the platform, right? That is wrong. I think that shouldn't happen to people. I feel like we need a platform because who's to say that tomorrow it's not me?
And
Luke's a Christian. Luke's, he leans Christian conservative, so he can't be on the platform. I mean, who's to say that we're not next, Nick? Because whoever's in power is the one that gets to keep the gate. And I'm like, that's not fair. And so when we created this, we also created this website to where it wasn't beholden to like Amazon servers or something like that.
Right.
Where there was another company that could be like, hey, we don't like what you're doing, so we're just going to take your whole site down, like they did with Parler. We're not going to do that. This is on the development company owns the boxes that are around the world that this is on. It's on physical boxes. They give me the list of where they're at. They know the community and the people that so they know that this is a free speech platform. They understand the three pillars that we're trying to build on. And so there is no fear of people getting taken down because I'm not going to take anyone down unless they break the law. That's the only thing that's going to make their campaigns come down. Are you breaking the law?
Yeah.
No? Fine. Present your work the way you want to, but please have some responsibility and click that over 18 button so that people that don't want to see it don't have to. Because I don't particularly want to have to be flooded with a bunch of adult content when I'm looking for well, I know when I'm looking for comics on there, I don't want to necessarily be flooded with a bunch of stuff that I'm not really wanting to see, right? And I know that other people are going to be the same way. But then I know there's people that they want to see that. They want to see the bloodiest, the goriest, the craziest stuff they can. And you know what? Here's the thing about, we're both artists, we're both writers, we're both creators, right?
Yeah.
I believe everything that's within the law should be made.
Yeah.
Like there should be content for everybody.
Apex said hail to the First Amendment. And yeah.
Yes.
That's why I kind of went off. I was in the chat on Nerdcap. I kind of went off on my passion, which is the beauty of the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
And it always ends up getting me in trouble because I don't care who it is. Yeah. If somebody says, I want to disavow the Constitution, I have problems with you. If somebody says, I want to disavow the Second Amendment or the First Amendment or the Third or the Fourth, I have problems with you. These exist for a reason. And that transcends, to me, that transcends
These truths
politics.
shall be held evident.
You're talking to a guy who downstairs has I think it's called a lithographed copy of the original Declaration of Independence, with the typos, and it's a mock-up. So it's a copy of the editing version.
Yeah. The first draft.
First draft is what I was looking for. That, what you don't think of that. But to me, I think they should codify the Declaration of Independence as part of law, because I really believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Absolutely.
And if something doesn't make me happy, but it makes you happy, as long as it's not being forced on me, and not, thank you, then do it. It's sort of like, this is a shocking secret to happiness, guys. I'm going to give you a life hack that can change your life. When you're scrolling through social media, right? And you see that comment where some D-bag has said something completely idiotic, and you feel like the fury is starting to build in you, you can keep scrolling.
Right.
And
or
you can
you
take
can
that
use your
energy.
First Amendment right.
Yeah.
You can say what you want to.
Yeah, you have the right to say. You also have the right to remain silent, and sometimes the right to remain silent is healthier in more places than you want. Sometimes it's like
I had the right, like Ron White says, I had the right to remain silent, but not the ability.
That's right. You finally caught him, Peterson. But
I've been there, guys.
And
Sean says, "How dare you make sense?" I know, right?
This sort of commentary has got me completely nuked in discussions with some of my more liberal friends. I will admit that. I will admit that freely.
Liberal's not bad. Leftist is bad. We had this discussion Tuesday night. That
I flip the terms
is
too
an
much.
ideology, yeah. But we normally use them synonymously. But leftist is it's an unhealthy adherence to all things extreme in the liberal scope. I mean, I was once considered a liberal. In fact, especially among Christians, I was considered a liberal because I believe women in ministry. I believe the Bible not only gives example, but gives credence to women in ministry. And the reformist friends that I have in the Calvinist faith they think that's a liberal. They say that's liberal ideology. And I'm like, no, I think it's biblical, but I'm considered a liberal among those people. But among political leftists, I'm considered Christian conservative, even though I'm really more on the liberal side of those things. Now, I'm not progressive in my theology, where, we redefine sin and try to create new truths. I believe truth has a memory. It has history, and truth isn't rewritten at the will of culture. Truth is truth, and those are the principles that I let my life be guided by. And so, yeah, when it comes to the branding of myself versus how we're going to brand and be able to, I guess, qualify the stance of fundmycomic.com, it has to come down to that freedom. The freedom to present and to create the way that you want to. But with every freedom, there's responsibility. Just because we have the right to speak freely, we have to use some responsibility with it, right? We have to understand there's consequences to things we say, and there's consequences to other people for the things that we say. I can say whatever I want, but Nick is in the room with me. He will be affected by some of the things I say. My brand will affect his brand when we're so closely tied together. Now, I'm a Second Amendment supporter. But we must be responsible with our Second Amendment rights. With every right, there's a responsibility. So we understand that. And so we want to give everyone the right to do what they want on the site, but they have to be responsible with it. Yeah.
I do want to say something that goes to my mind every time I see something like extreme left. Because if I talk to my liberal to leftist friends, they will talk about the if I said this right, the more enlightened of them will say you have Republicans that make sense, and then you have like militant conservatives, and then like MAGA party conservatives. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if you look left from where I sit, I see some Democrats who make sense, some ones who are a little extended, and then you have the extreme things that shouldn't be political at all. Gender is immutable, and all this not immutable, but there are points where reality starts to go boink. And
right, that's what Hojo's saying here. Now here's the deal: conflate truth versus fact. Truth is based on fact.
Yes, if it's done right.
Truth isn't based on opinion; it's based on fact. And so that's why I say truth has a memory. Truth has history. I was thinking earlier, but reality goes boink.
I'm gonna put that here.
Yeah,
my problem is when I look at either extreme, if you go Marxist, communist, all the way up on one side, and you go all the way up to fascism on the other, they come back around, and the only real difference becomes functionally the shade of green uniforms, that the guys in charge wear, where they execute everybody who doesn't think like them. I mean, the bubble comes full circle to the other side where, yes, I mean, Frog G, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe the government should be there to help you and then leave you alone.
Yeah, which is how we plan, but to get back to, geek talk, that's how we plan to govern the new website is, these are our three pillars. Does it meet the three pillars? Does it, and at the end of the day, is it breaking the law or is it hurting anybody?
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
On that site, because again, people ask, are you going to be how do I want to put it? Vetting for quality?
At first, every campaign will be approved by a physical person and not an algorithm. Todd and I will approve every campaign. So there will be a 3 or 4 day window for the time when you submit your campaign, to which point it will be approved. We'll be on that right away because we want to make sure campaigns are running. And so you've got to work that in. And if there's something wrong with a campaign that would cause us not to approve it, then we'll work with you to make the campaign ready for approval. We're not just going to bump you out. So let's say it's your first campaign and we feel like there's not enough information on there, or maybe you're not presenting enough art or something like that, then we'll say, hey, you really need a little more information here. Maybe we can help you get there so we can approve it. So there will be a little bit of vetting for quality, but just because you're not a great artist or a great writer doesn't mean we're going to tell you can't crowdfund, because we believe there's a market for everybody. That everybody can find if they work hard enough, they can find their audience. And so we're not gonna judge on the subjective matter of things. We believe that the quality of a person's work will wind up showing in their funding capabilities. But
wow, Carl, I am about to sound the most Republican I probably have ever sounded on a show. So this might get some people. So what you're saying is the quality will be determined by the market, and if it is of quality, theoretically, it will profit.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's very capitalist of you to say that. Fixed and or flexible funding goals. Yes. Basically, right now, if we took a survey, and we wound up coming up with 13 or 15 different things that we wanted from the community's input that we wanted the site to be able to do, in addition to what Indiegogo does at the base level, right?
Right.
We only had 2 items that can't make it into phase 1, into beta. So those other 2 items will be added in the next phase. And he goes, actually, that sounds more libertarian than Republican on my speakers. It is very libertarian of you. It's very libertarian of you. Quality will determine the outcome at the end of the day, and that's how the campaigns will work, which I believe the same of the site. I believe the quality and hard work that we put into the site will determine whether or not it's successful in the end. I won't think that, they're out to get me, so the site won't work, I won't blame anybody else if the site fails, which honestly, I don't believe the site will fail. I believe it will be a tremendous success. And I think at some point we're going to have trouble probably keeping up with the growth that we are going to have. We're set for a lot of growth right out of the gate. Like the developers are smart. They know this is probably where we're going to be, and they see what we're doing. We're very competitive with it, and we're going to be promoting like crazy what we're doing. But we just want people to be able to make good comics in freedom. This is this is America. Again, you have the right, and there's responsibility that comes with the right that you have these rights that we have. Freedom is a right, and there's a responsibility to it.
Right.
There's a responsibility to maintain your freedom and to help maintain the freedom of others. Because if one person loses their freedom and their rights, someone else will soon follow. That is the truth. That's the case. And I don't like that we always go political, because this is Nerd Bacon, Nerdcast.
Well, okay,
we're about comics and games, but politics are infiltrating our nerd world right now and affecting our work so bad.
See, what I like is this isn't the word political to me is beginning to fracture. Okay? In that when people say go political, I have sat and I've gone, okay, I can sit on a list with some of my friends and tell you word for word what they will say. Because one set's going to use Fox News' talking points, and one set is going to use MSN's talking points. And they yell talking points at each other and call it a political discussion.
Yeah.
That's
who can
isn't
yell the loudest and the longest at this point. Yeah.
We all have that one friend who's like, here's the text wall. And you read it and they have said nothing but 3 talking points.
Mm-hmm.
what we have here is we're talking about actual issues and their application.
Yeah.
This is not done in the abstract. When we talk about how we feel about the First Amendment, we are literally right here talking about money where our mouth is, or at least in Luke's case, because he has both more mouth and more money than I do. You know, Luke
Not
is
anymore.
saying,
I put it into a site.
yeah, I believe this. And I believe it enough, I'm doing it. I respect that. I respect that incredibly, even when it's from somebody I disagree with. Because if you're willing to take and say, this is what I believe, I'm going to make it manifest with an intent to do good, I can respect it. Yes. And that's that is what I believe the 1%, for lack of a better term, want. They want us in that echo where we're either in an echo chamber, yes, we all agree, we have the same thoughts, or you're evil. You know, and it's like, guys, if you take it issue by issue and have a discussion, you can change your mind. Yeah. And why does that matter? Because we could be talking about DC versus Marvel approach to writing. And it's the same mechanic. We're not saying Marvel is better, DC is better. And I'm using them because I don't care. They're the big two. We can go, why? You know, what makes it better? And then go,
what makes it better?
You know, I like the lighter-hearted feel of most Marvel books. Well, I like the gritty, realism of most DC books, And from there, you can actually, by going from talking point to issue, we're now having a discussion, and then we go, okay, I want to make a comic book. Like, right now, I am working on something for a comic book I want to try to do in 2023. I have to think in terms of what kind of tone do I want? What kind of stuff? This is how we get there, because you have to know what you like. Yes, Immortal Rising, yes. If anyone would give me a party that would treat mega corporations exactly like foreign nations, and make that, I'd sign me up, because what it is I see one party wants us to don't trust the corporations, but trust this government and send money to these other governments. And the other party's like, oh, don't trust these other governments, but send money to these big corporations because they're what matter. And I'm sitting here like, no. Other countries have their agendas separate from my country's agenda. The big corporations have the agenda. Their goal is to make money infinitely. That's every big.
We should align with other countries and other organizations if their agenda and our agenda can align, and it may not be forever, it may be temporarily, but as long as the agenda can align to benefit the people. But let's get back to this idea here.
Yeah, sure.
The fact of the matter is, Private American got canceled because it's political. Not because it's racist, because it's political. It deals with something that the leftists don't want you talking about. They want you thinking about. And here's a comic book that tells a story around the thing they don't want you to think about. Whether you agree with it or not, Mike has the right to do it, and he has a responsibility to do a good job of telling the story, right? Now, I don't have a responsibility to keep him from telling that story. That's not your responsibility or your right, okay? He has the right to tell it. And what's happened is now are the platforms in which we sell our books are determining what you can write or tell your story about. And we can't do that. That's why when people say, why make fundmycomic.com? That's why. Someone asks, well, can I fund my novel in there? Well, yeah, technically You can fund anything you want on there, but it's called fundmycomic.com. We're going to focus on comics and games. But if you want to run your novel on there, feel free. If you want to run your, if you're building.
Well, there's another. I almost want to reach out because there's a gentleman by the name of Blaine Lee Pardoe, and he announced a series of very, very right, basically a book series on a democratic apocalypse. Taking over, democratic party apocalypse kind of thing, and it becoming a totalitarian state that way. And this is the man who did huge amounts of the lore for BattleTech. He's been writing novels for decades, and Catalyst dropped him, and it had nothing. He was writing outside of the universe. It had nothing to do with the universe. It was his own book. He's publishing into elsewhere. They decided to cancel him for it, and now because of that, he's doing a new mecha series. Having a place where people could go to publish those things does sound really, it's important, because even if I don't agree with it, one, I know he's a talented writer.
Yeah.
So even if I didn't like the book, it would be well written. There are lots of comic titles like that.
So here, let me.
Yeah.
A lot of people were upset with Elon when he banned Kanye, right? Now, Kanye said a lot of things. He said a lot of things I disagree with. But guess what? He has the right to be able to say those things that I disagree with. Until he starts inciting violence, okay? Until he starts using his platform to make other people be violent, he's not breaking the law. And so people are upset with with Elon because of First Amendment. If people want to make a comic book that's pro-Nazi, I don't agree with it. Right?
Right. But now, here,
there's that big fat but in our First Amendment. They have the right to say it.
This is where we have to separate something here. Okay? The First Amendment, like any of the amendments, are governmental. This is where people get confused. When you sign on with Twitter or Facebook, and I may not. This is not me condoning something. This is me stating
that is a private organization, and they can.
That is a private organization.
Who uses the platform, yeah.
And this to me goes right back to the cake debate. This goes right back to a lot of things, because I've had people try to use the logic of using the First Amendment to convince me to draw things I won't do. I don't draw pornography. You as a business should have the right to choose to deny service for any reason to anybody because you are losing money. That's that's your downside to that is you are losing money. So
that's my libertarian view right there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's how I look at it, because I wouldn't want somebody. Now, what you're doing with yours is you are deliberately saying my terms of service are as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
So that's no non-consenting stuff, no minors depicted inappropriately.
Nope.
It should be obvious, but we have to say it. And there are a lot of people
falls within
who
the scope of the law. You can do it.
They will use their Nazis as a hyperbolic.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Because we do have people who are literally literally fascist Nazis who would
Really
kill
are,
people for
yeah.
their religion. I mean, that's a literal thing, and there are some people in power who literally believe that people of color or people of Jews or should die, and I think that's abhorrent.
It's abhorrent. Yeah.
That's not.
It should go without saying.
It should go without saying.
But we live in a
have to.
we live in a world now where we have to. How silly is that? That it's like we're living in a dream. It's like no, I don't believe in.
And
think
it's
genocide
well,
is good.
it's a side effect of they're trying to make it all inclusive Venn diagrams, where I could say, I liked a lot of Obama's domestic policies.
Yeah.
But so you love Obama and everything? No. I thought his foreign policies were crap, and the fact that he bowed to that dude still bugs me.
Yeah.
Because I go issue by issue. I do think if you want to see how cancellation should work, a lot of what's happening to Kanye is literally why it's not. The market is going, wow. If we try to sell shoes,
Don't wait. Can't use this
Woo!
phrase. Yeah.
and that's what you call logical cancellation. That's
Well,
makes
let's
sense.
put it this way: if there was someone on our platform that the majority of the users said, "We don't like that you're letting that person on the platform for this valid reason," right? I would go to the platform users. Like, instead of like one or two, I would do like what Elon did with the should I let Trump back on? Let people vote. Let people vote.
And that's both democratic and open, and it speaks to your testament to fairness. Because I'll be honest, if you're talking about a platform, if a platform gets known as, well, you can publish porn there, that's going to turn a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Because of
Well,
perception.
the law now, we can't. We actually, because of
Right.
banking laws and insurances, we cannot let porn on
And
the
again,
site.
I'm going hypothetical. I'm not, but that's part of it. There's a choice. So what I think it's going to attract a very interesting clientele. And I'm not using interesting as a spooky. I don't want to say something mean. I mean it, because when you see if the terms of service, which including the if they're you have and write it up so you can't get sued. If
We've got
there
lawyers
is
doing it. Yeah.
a significant issue, we will take a vote. If 51%, if a majority say we are not comfortable with this on the platform because everybody involved is a stakeholder, then they won't be allowed on the platform. That has, as long as it's codified, it makes sense. Or 75, set
I
a
don't
fixed.
foresee a lot of issue with that, to be honest with you, because
no.
really, to be
This is-
truthful, the people that are going to use this platform are the people that feel that they're not safe using other platforms,
Right.
for whatever reason. But
Right.
I do think that the people that don't necessarily align politically with guys like Mike Barron will probably also want to come and use the platform, because quite frankly, it's going to generate an audience. It's got a great domain name, and it only has a 2% platform fee. So you're going to save money. It benefits people that make comic books and games. That's the whole point. It's to benefit everybody.
Is going to be, and I'm going to say that right now. You're going to see in a few years. I'll pull out my crystal ball. In a few years, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to FMC. What? You're going to Yeah, I'm doing it on FMC. Why would I mess with Indiegogo's crap? Or why would I mess with Kickstarter? I think, yeah. Oh, well, that's true too.
Yeah.
It can be fickle. That's why I ask these questions. But
that's you getting yourself canceled.
yeah,
Yeah, if en masse people are like, yeah, you're out of your mind. When Alex Jones is like, yeah, no. Alex Jones says some really weird stuff, and when he's like,
okay,
yeah, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, then you know it's pretty bad.
I was a caregiver for one of my neighbors, a very I don't know how to describe him. Anyway, but he was an elderly gentleman, and he sincerely meant well, but he listened to Alex Jones on shortwave religiously.
Oh my.
And it caused him great amounts of suffering because he believed all of it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Somehow that man's mix of anger and vitriol and presentation allowed him to be charismatic for a group of people who were susceptible.
Yeah.
And that's why when people ask me about politics and things, I don't trust charismatics. I don't care if I agree with them or not. If with just their words they can, roll me, they can kind of make people's eyes glaze over and Jedi mind trick. That makes me incredibly uncomfortable, even when I agree with them. And I see that a lot. So I ask questions of people to help idiot-proof them. But you have to forward think. What will they do if they can't convince the Trust and Safety Board to remove the content they don't like? They'll go out and put pressure on the payment services. Yeah,
Sorry, can't do that either.
Yeah, so you can't. It's weld testing. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a weld, and you weld something on a farm, right, or you something, the first thing you do is you reach over you grab a 2 to 4 pound hammer, maybe a 5 pound sledge, and you smack the snot out of it.
See if it's going to break. Yeah.
To see if it's going to break now while you have your welder set up. This is what I do with Luke all the time. We have these conversations, and he realizes there's no malice. I'm literally just weld testing a concept. So you smack it with the hammer because you got to think of what the dumbest person or the most malicious person is going to do. And I have a knack, a true gift for red team applications. I think like the bad guy. So, that's why we have these conversations. And I kind of pulled Luke into Nick's going to have a very public business conversation because I find it shuts the idiots up.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a question about that? Not only have I said it, I've said it publicly. Here, go. If you don't like it, please hit dislike on my channel. It will hurt my feelings. And if you like what we do...
Oh, it would hurt my feelings if I had any.
Right. If you guys like this conversation, because this is a little different than our usual. It's a little more, I don't want to say mature.
Frog G has a problem with Alex Jones because, he just likes to stay hydrated by drinking water.
I understand fully.
And he's like, it's not making the frogs gay. Is it making the freaking frogs gay?
Those chemtrails will get you, man. Anyway.
Yeah.
That is me joking. Please don't put that.
Yeah, it's so silly. But yeah, and there's a little bit of responsibility that, if a platform sees, Alex Jones as a threat to its users, then that platform has a responsibility to, I guess, pull him from the platform. And, but then Alex has a responsibility to, or has the, to find another platform. Or to make another platform, which he's done. He's figured out how to do it. And people still go to him. They still find him. Not as easily as they used to. He's not on YouTube now. I'm not sure how Rumble's working for people. But, that's what we're doing. We're just creating another alternative to what's out there already that I think is needed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean... someone's going to think, let me try to put pressure on this or that. People will try to come and put pressure. They will try to hack the site, which is why we've got guys like Ray Haylock working on it. Because, that's Tug's web guy. You're telling him, trust me. Tug's been the victim of cyber attacks. Well, not the victim, because they have to make it through in order for him to be a victim. They can't make it through because
the target. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, he's been the target. He's been the target. Yeah. So we understand that when we start making a splash and start taking a big portion of the market, that people are going to come after the site.
And big corporate's going to come after you too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, my Firefly, Nick, just starts to manifest really hard. And the level of aiming to misbehave that you are doing, you know what I mean? I got to root for the underdog. And just, yeah. But it's just...
Yeah. So, this whole thing with AI, this whole thing with whatever you do, you're going to make enemies. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. When people found out, when we had a campaign that made 10K, I immediately had people start not liking me because we happen to make 10K. Then I had, when we announced that we were doing this site, I have people that don't like me and they're hoping for failure. They're waiting for failure, right?
Yep.
It's just going to happen. Whenever you meet some kind of success, someone's going to come after it. AI, we wouldn't have the issues with AI if people weren't misusing it, if they weren't using it, passing it off as their own art. And, I think, here we are, we're just, 2 weeks away from Christmas? Less than 2 weeks away from Christmas. And, I made the title. It's beginning to look a lot like an AI Christmas. Because it is. It's like everything seems to be auto-generated. And can I get on that topic for a minute?
Absolutely.
I don't think that it will ever be able to replace an actual artist's creativity and flow. Storytelling. But there's a guy that I've seen, that uses AI to write all of his content and to draw his pictures. And it's not good. It's not good. I'm like, wow, you could be that perfectly average on your own without the help of computers. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I guess that's kind of my point. It's like, I guess you can be mediocre with or without it. Your mediocrity in art just looks better now. It has a better aesthetic than it did before, but it's still, I mean, it's passable if you're making cards for your YouTube, but I wouldn't use it for anything else, personally. Ray knows his stuff. I've edited him thoroughly before I threw his name out to people. Yeah, he does know his stuff. And Ray is the one that put us in contact with the developer that is doing the Fund My Comic site. So all well vetted. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be good stuff.
I think what AI is going to do, again with my crystal ball out, is it's going to make people in the long term, probably after his passing, and I hate to put it that way, like Glenn, much more famous.
Yeah.
Because when everybody can turn to AI, having physical art you've done, because AI didn't do this. AI, hasn't got where it can print in graphite onto, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's going to make real originals have a lot more value.
Yeah.
And I think in the long run, AI will settle into the commercial. You're going to find Randy. Randy may need to be a little more nervous about AI because the companies are going to go to bypass the artists. But when the artist is actually a person doing art, not AI will become a almost a brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, I also think for commercial arts, I think are in a way different than I think, this other stuff. So when I do commercial art stuff, I have no problem using stock photos, whether I took them or I bought them, because I'll use a stock photo for something, or a stock video for something, because that's part of the workflow to speed things up, right? So I think if you're doing commercial arts, in a way, you can probably integrate some AI tech in order to speed up your process so that you can lower the overall cost to your clients. That'd be the thing. If you can speed up the work and lower the overall cost, but at the end of the day, I still think that all of these things need to be properly sourced from artists. There needs to be an AI royalty. I think at the end of the day, that's where I stand. There needs to be an AI royalty. And if we had an AI royalty, I wouldn't have the issues that I have with it right now. But I still would have problems with people that try to pass their AI work off as their own. Just like when I'm at a convention and I see art that I know someone else did, well, we call them out and we blast them and we talk to the convention owners, and convention owners ban them from the floor. That's what happens when you steal art and you're out there selling it as your own. That's what happens, and that's what should happen.
Commercial plagiarism deserves to be punished swiftly, severely, and with extreme prejudice.
You were talking about an AI artist, AI art not being able to print graphite. Well, sadly, I do a lot of my work. When you say something like that, I do a lot of my work digitally, so I can't print in graphite yet either.
No, but, it's that's what I was saying. It's one of those where traditional art will hold differently. Yeah. Now, because of you, I do so much more digital work, and I think in part of almost AI proofing myself a little bit, it's why I love posting the time lapses.
Yeah.
Because the AI is not going to need a blue sketch layer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's part of how I don't know if I said it makes me feel safer. Because if I go, here's a time lapse of what I did. One, people can see how to do it, and I'm all about sharing skills. Yeah. The big definition between a nerd and a geek is a nerd is somebody who's usually fixated on academic knowledge, and a geek is fixated on collection and fictional knowledge. I am a geek who collects skills, and a nerd who studies the real world knowledge. Right? So I'm very cross-wired. But by doing something like that, I can show my work. And I think we have to kind of treat AI to an extent like calculator. You treat a calculator on a math test. You still need to write down what steps you did to get there. Oh yeah. I read it. They're going across Twitter. I'm not gonna lie, because it would cost me too much to do so. Some of the AI stuff is absolutely staggeringly beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will never buy a comic book or any book that features AI art only.
Right. But it's not, and see, I look at it as like, I'm impressed. Wow. I have this thing about, stolen credit.
Yeah.
You don't, and this is going to sound like a weird angle, but the people claiming to be artists who use AI and just put in prompts aren't just stealing from the source artists. They're stealing credit from the AI itself.
Yeah.
Because I see a point where in the very near future, we're going to have to deal with the sentience of AI. Like the actual programs themselves are legitimately free-thinking things.
I think Skynet is coming. Whether
Well,
it's called Skynet or not.
I'm not even good. Well, yeah, there's something called Skynet too, which I find hilarious. But see, I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing, because if it's done right, artificial, and this is why people got mad at me, because I'm like, I'm not against AI. I'm against the way the AI art is working. Artificial intelligence can do some things faster than we can. Yeah, artificial intelligence doesn't extrapolate like we do, but it does process faster. So there's no reason why we couldn't eventually have non-sentient and sentient workforces of, AIs doing things that are difficult for humans, and that should, if it was done right, free up humanity to, because like how great would it be, in all honesty, Luke, if you only had to focus on your art because you were getting income from, you sent your Luke Bot 2.0 to go dig ditches for the county or whatever.
Yeah.
And and not have to.
But the county would have bought their own.
Well, but you
Ditch
get
and bot,
what I'm
solid.
saying, though. I mean, it's interesting. And yeah, that's another good point.
Does look
Because
generic,
the sampling is still fairly limited, unless you can Boolean put in very specific stylistic requests.
which they do now.
Well,
You
yeah,
can
of course.
seed image it. Yeah, you can use a few. Like if I wanted to have something look like Silvestri drew it, I just put a few seed images in.
Well,
And-
I can't remember that. Just a Japanese master, a brilliant artist, and his name just fell off my mind, but he died early October.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
one day after, an AI company had scanned his entire works and was putting out how generate pictures like this. One day after his death, didn't concede anybody. That's where it becomes macabre to me. It's like
I have
that
a real
literally
problem
is.
with that.
It's mechanical soul theft.
Yeah, I have a real problem with that.
And it crosses into the intellectual version of the uncanny divide.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of on The Incredibles. And that villain guy was like, once everybody's super, nobody will be.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that, that there's no the art is a skilled trade. Now I understand, having a robot to scan inventory or to go check gauges at a nuclear plant. It's safer for the robot. The robot doesn't get tired. The robot won't make mistakes. There's certain things that, using AI and robotics for is great. But I think putting pen to paper, or in my case, stylus to screen, when you're drawing an organic line, it just, I think it looks better. I think it feels better. But I think you're taking money away from real artists. And to call yourself an artist, so I'm an AI
That's
artist.
the part that bugs me.
You're not.
You're
not.
It's not. It's that stolen. It's the same logic as stolen valor, and it hits me as
Yeah.
see. We live in a world where words are starting not to have defined meanings, and certain words are getting twisted to mean things that they don't. And you take the word artist. The word artist means somebody who has studied a means of producing either an image or music or a sculpture, and they spend time learning the skill. They practice the skill. Art is what's born of the practice. That's the app. There is a growth to it. It is an organic living concept. I don't see that applying to somebody punching in. Even somebody who does, really good prompts, who is really adept at the right terminology. That's not art. That's learning how to ask for art.
Yeah.
Now, the AI artists, as they scan and they cross-reference things, the AI itself is maybe an artist, because it's literally learning.
It's learning, yeah.
How the images work. It's just not through the same process as we
But
do.
at the same time, it doesn't create the pixels. It takes pixels from somewhere else and puts them together.
Right.
Like,
At
that's
this
really what it's
stage.
doing. It's taking pixels from somewhere else and putting them together in something that's recognizable. It's amazing that it can do that. It's amazing how it does it. But yeah, I do have a problem with that. I have a problem with people not getting recognized for their work.
Yeah.
It is, look at Van Gogh. Here was a guy his work didn't get famous until after he died.
There's so many of the masters are not both musically and artistically are not recognized during their time. Literary masters. Poe died literally in a ditch, under some pretty shady means. I think he might have drowned in his own puke. It was bad. He went out bad, penniless. And how big is the market on things built on Poe? Lovecraft, very similar. Died very poor. It's a monolith now. How about, and this might sound shocking, we start recognizing the value of artists and writers and creators
They're still
during
alive.
their lifetime?
Yeah, I got to go backwards a little bit. It just bothers me when people take on titles that aren't theirs. Like, I knew a guy that's in the comic sphere would call himself a pastor. And so as a fellow pastor, when you're calling yourself a pastor, the idea is that what I go through as a pastor leading sheep.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't a pastor at all. He did a small group occasionally with other Christian business owners.
And see,
that's not being a pastor. That's being a disciple maker. There's a difference. It's not invaluable, but it's not being a pastor. You're being disingenuous by calling yourself that. A shepherd is something different than that.
Yes.
It's difficult. Yes. There's a camaraderie with that. When you call yourself an artist, the idea is that you've put hours in to trying to develop a craft and an art. When you call yourself a soldier, it's you've put hours in and you've put blood on the line. You've risked something that nobody else has. And to claim those things pisses me off.
See, this one, I got a buddy of mine who I like. He's very versed in firearms. He has been in military conflicts as a military contractor, which is a nice way of saying a merc.
Yeah.
And he said something about being a veteran. And I stopped and I said, "You were a mercenary. You were a veteran of that conflict if you fought in it, sure. Yeah. Little V. But you are not a veteran, big V." And he starts going, "Well, I was here and I did this." I'm like, stop.
You were a mercenary.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Yeah. Could you quit? Well, I would have lost all the... Stop. could you quit? And he said, well, yeah. And they would have sent you home, right? Well, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, I could have broken my contract, but no. A veteran has signed a blank check over to their nation to pay with everything, including their sanity, their limbs, and their life. And once they sign that check, it never goes away. That every one of them could get recalled at one point or another. That's what a veteran is. Because they're one, you know, that's somebody who, if somebody's willing to give their life for the defense of our nation and our freedom, they're a veteran, and I will respect them for that. Even if I disagree with every other thing they say and do, I will always respect them for signing on the dotted line.
Yeah, it's like there's that joke. Like the guy asked the girl what she does. Oh, I'm an Instagram model. She goes, what do you do? He goes, oh, well, I'm a Call of Duty veteran.
Yeah, now see, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's that taking on these titles that just don't belong to you.
And
Yeah.
it's...
I
could
call yourself a writer if you're using AI to write your prompts. Like, that's
well, I
not
know
writing.
somebody. I'm a writer. Have you written anything? Well, no, but I want to.
Then you're not a writer.
And it's like I'm not saying you even have to publish, but you have to try. You have to write something.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you write something to me, you're a writer. Once you get published somehow, I think you're an author. That's my understanding of the terms.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? Yes, this is still live, Dave Malone.
Yeah, we're still live, Dave.
We're
still
going
live.
at it.
Yeah, we're probably
Not bad.
We're getting close to wrapping up. But yeah, we've been talking about AI. We talked about fundmycomic.com, the new site that looks like we're going launch in beta next week, if everything stays on track. So we're just here. I'll read what he said, because it doesn't make sense to me, because I don't speak this speak. It's not my lingo, guys.
It's okay. It's okay.
So they're currently finalizing QA tests, whatever
Okay.
the hell that is.
Uh,
Their deployment pipelines and load testing.
Yeah.
Now, I know load testing from electrician stuff. I'm not an electrician, but I know one. So I know what a load test is on that. So I'm assuming that it's similar, but it has to do with bandwidth, probably. They're probably sending bots to the site to see what kind of load it can handle. That's what I assume.
It's seeing how much
Probably wrong.
traffic it can handle without
Yeah.
crashing. The other one is making sure that the downloads and stuff going out can process, is what I think.
And probably
If I remember.
connecting user interfaces with front end and all of that kind of stuff, back end and front end stuff. Okay, and then paperwork side, waiting on a final sign off from lawyers for the API terms of service. And we're waiting for clarification on not safe for work from the banking partners to ensure we're not going to get ourselves into trouble. Lawyers may just leave not safe for work completely out of it and will mark content as 18 plus, because that would literally be swear words or anything like that. So it would be nice. So timeline, assuming the lawyers and the bankers get back to us this week, we should be good for beta release next week. That is from the developer himself. So way to go, guys. We're doing it. We're doing it. It's happening. And we may have a very Merry Christmas here. Making a website, launching a website. I'm not making anything.
You're making it happen.
Right? I'm making it happen. So it's like that. Yeah, I keep saying, yeah, I made a website. No, I didn't make it. You know, I'm like an AI artist. I didn't make anything.
Look, you're a website designer now, boy. By that logic, you know, you're a webmaster.
No, I had an idea. I had an idea, and we are destroying it with that idea right now. So, got the right people together and the right partners, and I think it's going to be I think it's going to be nice. I can't wait to see people start. I've already got people wanting access. They're like, when can I start building my campaign? And I'm like, I will let you know as soon as we have the site up. I will send you a link and you can go create your account and start building your campaign right away. And yeah, so that's pretty exciting stuff. And yeah, we had a good discussion today about AI. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I think we need to be responsible with it. And I think we need to call it what it is.
Responsible, and we need to be prepared for what it's going to do.
Yeah, there's idiots. There's people that are going to exploit it, but I think that some AI, is brought up in the chat. AI royalties, I think Hojo brought it up. Yeah. AI royalties, I think, should be a thing, and I don't think anyone is lobbying or petitioning, that we, have any lawsuits, anything against it yet. But I think that is in the future, because right now, as you can see on my profiles, I have the AI with a big red circle and a cross through it, right? Yeah. There's a lot of artists that are using that image right now. They're all saying, look, no, AI, we're not doing this. Until images are properly sourced. And I think that's the reasonable thing to say. I really do. But with that, man, I got work to do. I got to get back to drawing these comic books.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I like the 2-hour format. The roughly 2 hours. Because that third plus gets a little rough.
Yeah, I don't like going that long.
I think we need to really try to. And not that I don't love the fans, because I love the chat. You guys, I love you more than anything. But it gets rough on me after the second hour sometimes. This one was good though, because there was meaningful conversation, and I got good art done. So because I have to fidget while I think hard.
Yeah. So all right, guys. Next week will be the week before Christmas. I think it should be an ugly Christmas sweater day. I think we should wear Christmas themed.
If I can find it, I have the perfect thing for it. But I've been looking for months. If I can find it, I will wear something special.
We'll put a Christmas hat on Bob back here.
That works.
Yep. So yeah, looking forward to next week. Don't know what the topic will be. We may have more people with us. Randy was not with us. He probably won't be for a little while. He's taking some time off from streaming from so many different shows, so that he can get some work done. He's got a lot going on with Arrow Comics next year. So yeah.
Actually, I'm glad he's knocking it out. I think we should do is next week, because it'll be the last one before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Let's just make it the Nerd Bacon Christmas party, and whatever happens.
Absolutely.
If we get guests, we'll get guests, and we'll hang out and we'll talk Christmas stuff. And I mean, there's some really great comic. If we want to talk about comic appearances of Santa, and
right, yeah,
there's
in issue 6, the whole issues 6 through 9 of Hybrids takes place right before Christmas, and it actually in book 6. Heck Trooper Bob is
that's right.
Tries to decorate. He tries to decorate for Christmas in the demon's lair, and Fuji has to give him a talking to.
Although I will say, headcanon, they get the wrong trooper. Like I have this headcanon about Bob. People don't know Bob yet. They really don't know the importance of Bob.
No.
But there's always going to be, like, whenever something bad's supposed to happen because Bob goofed it up, it always falls on, like, Alan or some like normal guy who just, I did nothing. Because Bob is.
I like that Bob gets yelled at every once in a while.
Well,
they don't get rid of him.
Yeah.
Like, they just never get rid of him for some reason.
I don't think he understands anyway, because it's just Bob.
No, he doesn't get it. He just thinks he's working a normal job. He doesn't realize what he's doing. Like,
that's
he doesn't
true.
get it. Like, yeah, of course. of course, Doc, as Hazel, walks around in demon form sometimes at work. And everybody knows that the company's ran by a demon at this point. But they're like, he's like obtuse to it. Like, just absolutely has no idea. He's always coming in and doing cleanup. Like, he's always, or showing up too late. Like, there's this one scene that I want to draw and put in somewhere. Maybe the next trade. Maybe, I'm not sure. But he basically, it's during the break-in. He goes to the restroom, and he had to go real bad. He goes to the bathroom, and when the alarm's going off and they're calling everybody, he's out of toilet paper. So the whole thing is he's trying to find paper, right? So he's just trying to find paper the whole time. And so when it's all over and there's a big hole in the wall and all that kind of stuff, Bob comes out and he's like, I'm ready. And finally he's got paper hanging out of his, back of his pants or whatever. And there's just nothing. Everything's done, so he missed out on that one. Probably good for him, because he may not have made it.
That's part of the, like, Bob, we need to write up. And this is, if you guys want to know what happens after we end the show, this is what happens a lot of times. But have you ever seen the rules for, they're like 9 rules or whatever for a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, like a Roadrunner cartoon?
Yeah.
Chuck Jones wrote the rules so that, the Roadrunner can never cause any harm to the coyote other than, going meep meep and scaring him. Everything that happens to the coyote has to be his fault. There's this whole list. We need to make a set of rules for the appearances of Bob.
Yeah.
Just where, because I love Bob. I really do.
Well, you made up Bob.
Well, yeah, that's true. I did make up Bob. And I behind the scenes, I may have written some stuff and slipped Luke for later use involving Bob the Heck Trooper. But
yeah.
2023 is going to have some fun stuff.
Really
I'm
is. And
really
Dave, I
excited.
get with you. Man, I'm with you. Can't wait for you to release your book, man.
Oh,
Let us know about it. Let us know about it. Social medias, stuff like that. We'll try to promote you as best we can.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. But yeah, with that, I think it's been a good show, guys. Check out our websites. Check out Nick on Amazon. Check out LukeStoneStudios.com. Check out AeroComics.store. And bookmark FundMyComic.com. FundMyComic.com we will change the redirect next week and plug it in at the website. So can't wait. It'll be awesome.
I am so excited about next year. I'm having trouble dealing with any of the projects I have that I'm trying to get done.
Gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be great.
So anyway, you know what we always say. Leave the woodpile higher than you found it. Build up more than you tear it down. And by all means, be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there. We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. 2 Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain. Moving on, I see a 211, half a dozen 459, 2 ADWs, a GTA, and several miscellaneous crimes. Homicide.